We are counting down the days until the 2021 NFL Draft kicks off this Thursday in Cleveland, Ohio. Hello everyone and welcome back to Penn State Sports Night. I'm Brooke Steach alongside Hunter Pitcoff and Sommer Thomas, and tonight we'll be doing our fifth and final installment in the Penn State Sports Night mock draft series. Hunter, let's start with you. Who are your top picks to kick off the draft in just 3 days?
Well, we know these first two picks, Sommer, are going to be etched in stone. It's Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson. Let's not get into that. This is where it gets interesting, number 3. And there's rumors about which quarterback the Niners are going to take. I think we both know they're going to take a quarterback. I don't think it's going to be Mac Jones because he's not that good. He's basically a clone of Jimmy Garoppolo. Is that what the Niners want? I don't think so. So that's why I think they're going to go Trey Lance out of North Dakota State. I said earlier in the year that he'd be a terrific fit, and that was when the Niners were even further back in the draft. Now they're at 3. I still think you take him if you're Kyle Shanahan because he's such a dynamic player. And if you don't think he's ready, he can sit a year behind Jimmy Garoppolo, and then you can give him the keys of the car when he's ready to do so. And the rest of the top half of my first round here, it's going to be very offensive heavy. Kyle Pitts, Jamar Chase, got some offensive linemen as well. Considering that there's no trades, because we didn't do trades in this mock draft, but we'll get into that later, Justin Fields to the Denver Broncos. They have been trying so hard to find their franchise quarterback since Peyton Manning rode off into the sunset doing some Papa John commercials and things of that nature. Paxton Lynch, nope. Drew Lock, nope. Justin Fields, maybe. Maybe he's the guy who can really turn things around there, and he's got some weapons there. Even Penn State's very old KJ Hamler. Then we got the run on cornerbacks that's going to happen here. Patrick Surtain teaming up with former teammate Trevon Diggs from Alabama with the Dallas Cowboys, J.C. Horn from South Carolina for the Eagles, and then Caleb Farley to replace Patrick Peterson. Crazy to think he's not going to be with the Cardinals anymore, but Caleb Farley can be an awesome replacement. Now moving on to the second half of the mock draft here. You're going to continue to see this trend of cornerbacks. Greg Newsome, this is a guy that maybe not a lot of people know, but he is quickly rising up the draft boards. What I really like about Newsome is he's a dog. He's got all the physical intangibles, really well coached at Northwestern under Fitzgerald there, but Greg Newsome is an absolute animal, and he reminds me a lot of Jaire Alexander, which is funny because that's his favorite player, and that's who he models his game after. And of course, he will go higher in the draft, but Mac Jones to the Washington football team, that's what I currently have. And Asante Samuel Jr., he's got it in his blood. We know what Asante Samuel was able to do in the NFL, his pops. But he might be a little undersized, but this dude fundamentally coming out of Florida State can get the job done. And I want to highlight the running backs here. They're not going as high in the draft anymore, but these two guys deserve it. Najee Harris is basically an upgrade, better version of what James Conner was in Pittsburgh. He is now with the Arizona Cardinals, but Najee Harris can come in right away and be that dog. And then Travis Etienne, he's going to be a fantasy darling because of his ability to catch out of the backfield. And I drafted Devin Singletary in my fantasy league. He was booty cheeks. Zach Moss wasn't very good either. But Travis Etienne's going to be that bell cow there that complements Stephon Diggs and Cole Beasley and Josh Allen there. And then, for the love of God, the Packers are not drafting a wide receiver. It's not going to happen. They never do it in the first round. Their philosophy is always to draft receivers later in the draft. That's why I got Landon Dickerson, arguably the best center out of Alabama here, because they lost Corey Linsley in the offseason. They need to be protecting Justin Herbert now. Aaron Rodgers is going to need his protection because, he's got that State Farm deal. He needs his insurance there. That's going to be his insurance on the offensive line. And considering there's going to be a lot of trades, these picks are going to be very wrong because they are every year I do these mock drafts, but I'm excited to see how it plays out.
It's no question that Trevor Lawrence is a future Jacksonville Jaguar, but the biggest storyline in the 2021 NFL Draft is where the 4 other quarterbacks will land, including Zach Wilson, Mac Jones, Justin Fields, and Trey Lance. With that being said, Sommer, where are your top picks going in the first round?
So I've got to say, our picks are a little bit different here. Again, with these first 2, it's pretty much set in stone. Although I am actually hearing some teams are considering Zach Wilson to be an even better prospect than Trevor Lawrence, but that might just be all, smoke and mirrors. I'm not so sure about that. I've read a couple articles about it, not sure if it's true. Now, where I think our mock drafts really differ is at number 3. So I have the 49ers going in on Justin Fields. Like you said, there's a lot of talk about how Kyle Shanahan might want Mac Jones, or maybe the 49ers administration wants this person or that person. I genuinely think that when it comes down to it, they've really got to take the guy that's proven himself on the field year in and year out, and that's Justin Fields. I definitely think that there is a significant chance, like we're going to talk about later, that the Falcons do trade out of this pick, but I think Kyle Pitts would be the best available player in this spot. I see him as a future Rob Gronkowski, George Kittle, Travis Kelce. I see him as really being one of those guys in the NFL. And again, it'd be great for them to get a replacement for Tony Gonzalez and everything. It's been a minute since he was there, but they need another tight end just like that. And I know that number 5 is a bit high for Jamar Chase. I've had some people that I've seen online ranking him, like 4 or 5 in the receiver class, and some people ranking him at 1 or 2. So it really just depends on the person. But I really like the Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, LSU connection. And although, they do maybe need some offensive line help after Joe Burrow got injured, there's also a good chance they might take Jamar Chase there. Also, some people have this is a bit high for Devonta Smith, but I think that his speed and his yards after the catch is great and probably the best out of all the receivers in this draft. Yeah, he's a small guy, but they might be willing to look past that given a lot of the benefits that he gave to Alabama last season. So, again, we have Micah Parsons down here. A little bit high for Micah Parsons, possibly, but I really do think that the Lions are in need of that, linebacker, edge rushing guy. Micah Parsons fits that. This is a little bit low for Sewell, but again, I'm really expecting there to possibly be some trades in play for him, for people that really, really need offensive line help. And yeah, at number 9, again, we disagree on this one for sure, but I see Trey Lance being at number 9. I have a feeling that the Broncos might want Trey Lance just based off of everything that I've read. That might be their guy. The question is he going to fall to them at 9 or do they have to trade up to get him? I think that's the big question here. And then one player that I'm really, really excited for is Pay over here. Hopefully, in my opinion, going to the Vikings. I think that he is the best edge rusher in this draft, in my opinion. A really big guy, can also line up as a linebacker. He's also fast. He's really, really fast. That 3-cone drill, he shocked everyone with how fast he was going. So I think that he would be an excellent pick for the Vikings down there. Maybe he goes even earlier, I don't know, but I think that the Vikings are definitely in need of a defensive lineman like that on their team. And for number 15, I have Mac Jones. He seems exactly like the kind of guy that Bill Belichick would want to draft. He, definitely needs some more grooming. He has great potential, but I don't think that he necessarily has the experience, and he hasn't necessarily proven himself either because, imagine if he was playing on North Dakota State University, how would he have been playing compared to Trey Lance? And he had the entire Alabama receiving and running back core around him, which, as we know, is arguably the best in all of college football. So I think that there's a good shot that the Patriots could get him at 15 and not have to, make any trades, and they can just have him there. And I would trust Bill Belichick to do well with developing him. And I only have one running back going in the first round, and for me, that's Travis Etienne going to the Jets. There's been some talk that the Jets really like the way he plays, and although I agree Najee Harris is great, there is a chance that not enough teams in the first round really are that big of a need of a running back. I think he might fall out. It all depends on where teams decide to rank the two of them and who's better. But I think that Travis Etienne is definitely the really explosive running back that you want. It's someone who's going to run through guys, really high scoring dude. So I think he'd be great for the Jets over here. And lastly, I want to talk a little bit about Kadarius Toney. In my opinion, he is one of the more underrated receivers in this group. And I think that the Ravens are going to get an absolute steal if they're able to get him at 27. Very high chance he goes even sooner. Same thing with Jalen Waddle. He also might go way sooner in the draft as well. But like you said before, it's really hard to get these things right. We are not experts. We're doing our best here. So yeah, this is for my second half is what I have. A lot of receivers going in here, a lot of edge rushers and linebackers, and then hopefully a bunch of really great offensive linemen in the second round as well.
The Miami Dolphins have been very active moving around on the draft board with trades. They entered the draft process with the 3rd overall pick, but after wheeling and dealing, they now sit at number 6. Hunter, what are some other potential trades you think teams could make to move up on the board?
Well, like we said, Brooke, Sommer, there's no trades in this mock draft, but we can pretend, right? So Justin Fields to the Broncos, Mac Jones at 19 to the Washington football team. That's what I have. And I think that could happen regardless of those are the teams out draft them. But I don't think they're going to get them at those spots. Now, where can the trades potentially happen? You alluded to, right, the Atlanta Falcons at 4. Now, Kyle Pitts, oh man, I would love me some Kyle Pitts on my football team if I was Atlanta. But if we're being completely honest, if they get a king's ransom for that 4th overall pick, how can you say no? And you'd have to probably move back in the draft. And then even with the Detroit Lions, obviously Micah Parsons would be an awesome fit. We both agree with that. But they can afford to move back because they have a lot of problems on that team, not just linebacker. They're picking in the top 10 for a reason here, Summer. And the Carolina Panthers, there's been some talks going on that maybe they're interested in Justin Fields. Maybe they want a quarterback. It's hard to think that because if they did, they just traded for Sam Darnold. Like, why would you draft a quarterback right after just trading 3 picks to get one? So I'm not quite sure that's going to happen. It could be the Denver Broncos trading further into the top 10. It could be the Washington football team cracking into the top 10. Maybe a team even like the Chicago Bears or something can make a move too. We'll see. But I think the quarterbacks, they'll all probably go in the top 10. The question is, how does it happen?
I agree. I think those top 4 quarterbacks being Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, and Justin Fields, someone's going to be trading up for that 4th guy. Someone's going to be, because there are too many teams that are in need of their franchise guy right now and are really just in the middle of nowhere, sort of like the Washington football team, the Denver Broncos. They don't really have that guy. I mean, yes, Washington did just trade for Ryan Fitzpatrick, but he's not a permanent solution. He's a temporary solution.
Always has been, right?
Always has been. He's a great backup to have. And with that number 8 pick, I really like Sewell being there because they need offensive line help if Darnold is going to be their guy. As a Jets fan, I've seen the way that Darnold reacts when his line falls apart. Unfortunately, he doesn't do too well. He's great throwing on the run, but he can't do that all the time, and that's why he's gotten sacked so many times in his career. So I really think that the Panthers should go offensive line here. I don't think it'd be smart for them to get a quarterback, but in my opinion, I do think that the 4 top quarterbacks will be going in the top 10 because what will happen is if a team that is not in the top 10 really wants one of those guys, it's going to start a whole frenzy. And I'm really excited to see what happens because honestly, you never know. And, what if the Jaguars take Zach Wilson instead of Trevor Lawrence? Just, you never know. Literally anything could happen. Not that I think that would be a good decision, but anything could happen. And I'm just really excited to see how these first 16 picks play out because this is where I think there's going to be a lot of shuffling in here. And, yeah, I'm just extremely excited to see where all the quarterbacks go.
With the Big 5 quarterback group expected to be selected in the top half of the first round, I'm wondering who the diamonds in the rough are in this class. But, Hunter, what are some bold predictions you have come Thursday night?
All right, let's get a little bold here one time. I'm going to say this right now. Jalen Waddle is a better player than Devontae Smith. I know that he has the Heisman Trophy, but Jalen Waddle wasn't there. And when they were both playing alongside each other, Waddle was outpacing him. Now, he's bigger, he's faster, and he's much better with the ball in his hands than Devontae Smith is. Devontae Smith measured at 6 foot, 166 pounds. That's not that much bigger than me, Summer, and I'm not playing in the NFL anytime soon of that nature. Again, awesome player. I still think a top 15 pick. He would be an awesome fit with Cam Newton there because Julian Edelman retired, and they definitely need a number 1 wide receiver, a target monster for Cam there. So I do think that Jalen Waddle is the better player, and that's why I have him going ahead to the New York Giants, where he'd be an awesome complement to not only Saquon Barkley, but Kenny Golladay, who recently signed there too. My second one is going to be Mac Jones. Michael McCorkle Jones. That's his real name. We talk about Justin Fields and how he is this bad character and, a cancer to the locker room and stuff like that. Mac Jones has 2 DUIs, and he's out of shape, to say the very least. We saw some of those pictures leak on social media. He only goes through at most 2 reads. He's not the most accurate quarterback, doesn't have the strongest arm. He's not athletic. I don't get it. I don't know. Maybe it's a secret agenda that no one wants to talk about, but I'll leave that for another conversation. But Mac Jones, I just don't understand all the hype. I wouldn't even take him in the first round if it was up to me, to be completely honest. And last but not least, I think we're all just assuming that the Lions are going to take a wide receiver, the Eagles are going to take a wide receiver. It's definitely a need for both of those teams, but they have bigger holes to fill. Micah Parsons, who might be the best defensive player in this entire draft, Dan Campbell's a defensive guy. He's going to want someone to man the middle of that field for the next 8-10 years. And Micah is certainly talented enough to be that guy, and he's like a Swiss Army knife because, like you say, he gets after the passer. He's great against the run, can play so many different positions on the field. They're going to want that weapon. And then the Eagles, well, yes, everyone laughed at them, including the Vikings, when they drafted Jalen Reagor ahead of Justin Jefferson. It was a mistake. But do you really think they're going to take 2 wide receivers in the first round in a row, especially considering the fact that Jalen Hurts isn't even their franchise quarterback according to them for whatever reason? They just don't want to commit to anything right now. So that's why I think J.C. Horn, a guy who in 30 career games with South Carolina, did not let a single receiver get more than 60 receiving yards against him. And that one guy was Devontae Smith, who was an absolute stud. This guy's really good. He paired really nicely alongside Darius Slay there, and that's why I don't think the Eagles are going to go wide receiver here.
Yeah, honestly, I completely agree with you, and that is sort of also, I guess, my bold prediction. Their needs in the secondary are immense. They really, really need a good cornerback, not also a couple safeties too. But I have Patrick Surtain here instead of J.C. Horn. I just sort of, mixed up a little bit the order with all of the cornerbacks, but again, so many of them are so evenly matched in their skill sets and how good they are that I think that as long as they do go cornerback there, I think that's what's the most important. And again, I generally do think that my biggest bold prediction is Justin Fields at number 3. Not a lot of people are talking about that. If it does happen, it'll be a huge surprise to a lot of people. I think that it would be maybe not necessarily the best fit, but I do think he is the best available quarterback on the board. So yeah, for my bold predictions, just expecting a lot of cornerbacks, hopefully a lot of edge rushers too, since there's a lot of talent. Maybe not as much when it comes to running backs, and I'm expecting the big impact receivers to go first, and maybe I'm hoping that size in terms of receivers does not matter as much this year.
We'll have to wait and see where the newest NFL stars will land this week. Thanks for tuning in to our entire 2021 NFL Mock Draft series this year. For Hunter Pitcoff and Sommer Thomas for the last time, I'm Brooke Steach. Thanks for watching and have a great night.
Thank you for watching this edition of Penn State Sports Night. If you're a fan of our content, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more clips. Also, follow us on Twitter at PSSN TV and on Instagram at PSU Sports Night to keep up with all the action. For all my colleagues, we are Penn State Sports Night.